All right, let's see. We should be live. This is a webinar called Stop Dieting and Start Losing. I'm excited to be here with you today. Let's just make sure that the feed is coming through nice and loud and clear, because last month I had a little debacle. I thought I was on the right page, but apparently I was not. So we're just gonna make sure I'm coming through on that page. I will. Yep. Let's make sure. Oh,
you see it?
I think I see it. Yes, I think we're live. Oh, this is so exciting. All right. So tonight again, stop dieting and start losing. We're going to be talking about getting out of that diet yo-yo cycle, not falling victim to it, and actually losing weight in a way that you can maintain and sustain. I am Heather Robertson. I'm a host of the Half Size Me podcast. I've been doing this since 2012, so I've been with you now for a while. And this year, I'm all about how can I help you? And one of the ways that I thought, hey, you know how I could help? I could get on here and we could talk about some issues that I know you're struggling with, that I struggled with in my weight loss journey. So just to give you a little bit of insight, if you haven't been listening to the podcast, you don't know my story. I had battled my weight since being a young child. I hit my highest weight with my first pregnancy, well over 300 pounds. And I progressively lost weight over the course of 5 years, having 2 more pregnancies in the mix, and lost about 170 pounds. I have been keeping off this weight since 2012. Now that's a big, big deal because I have lost weight many times before. Let's raise our hands. How many of us have lost weight and then gained it back and then had to lose it again? That's right. We've done that multiple times. So for me, this last go around was completely different because I didn't do the dieting yo-yo cycle. I stopped following diets and I started really building my habits in a way that I could keep up with for the rest of my life. I said, whatever I do to lose this weight, I have to be willing to do to maintain my weight loss. So I took a totally different approach, and that's what I've been sharing in the Half Size Me show, in the Half Size Me community, via all the different things I put out there, that this is doable, but you're gonna have to change your mindset and your thinking about it, and you're gonna have to change your approach, and that's what we're gonna talk about tonight. Now, I just wanna let you know that while I've lost 170 pounds and lost weight multiple times, I am not a doctor, nurse, medical professional, personal trainer, therapist. I am sharing what has worked for me, what I work with my coaching clients on, things that I've seen come up time and time again for those of us that struggle with weight. So I am just strictly giving this for informational purposes only. We have a lovely community moderator joining us tonight. Miss Lauren is on the feed with you. So if at any point you have a question, she will collect it and she will share it with me right here in our forums, which, by the way, if you've been wanting to join the Half Size Me community, we are open right now. We only open for 24 hours, 1 day out of the month, and it just so happened to fall on the day of the Facebook Live. So, Lauren, if you wouldn't mind, throw up the link to the community. If anybody is interested in joining during the broadcast, they can click that and click through. So the other thing I want to let you know is I have some really good free resources for you. The first off is what I've already mentioned, which is the weekly podcast. We release a new show every Monday, and you can get that in iTunes, Stitcher Radio. I think we might be on iHeartRadio. I'm not 100% sure on that. But basically, go ahead and subscribe to the show. It'll come to you for free every Monday. The other thing that I want to make you aware of is my permanent fat loss crash course. It's 5 lessons. You're going to get 1 per day for the first week after you sign up. And that's totally free. Permanent fat loss crash course. 5 lessons. All you have to do is go to halfsizeme.com/VIP and you would get access to the crash course. Plus you'll be a VIP member, which means you'll get lots of other goodies and opportunities to continue to get help through the year. So just want to mention that. All right, so again, tonight, for those of you just joining, why are we here? So we can stop this diet yo-yo cycle, so we can stop dieting and start losing. This is what I was sharing. In my journey, I realized I was super good at buying diets. I'd buy the books. I would read the books. I could tell you how to lose weight. That was not a problem. What I struggled with, and what I know you struggle with, and what we ultimately communicatively have struggled with, is this idea of doing a lot of change quickly to lose weight, but then inevitably something happens, life throws us a curveball, something changes, and we drop the ball completely. We end up gaining the weight back, and we stop doing all of the things. And the question really becomes, why does this keep happening? Why are we in this cycle? Well, the reason that ultimately diets fail us is we can agree that, of course, it's one of those long-term, if we look at the history and statistics, diets typically don't work. And when we talk diets, and let's just clarify this right now, I'm really talking about somebody telling you how to eat, when to eat, how to move, when to move. So if you're following a traditional diet program or plan, or following a prescribed diet out of a book, you're following somebody else's recommendations for you. It's an external person or thing who's telling you what to eat and what to do. And the problem is, when we do that, when we follow it to a T, we're inevitably going to rebel. We're inevitably going to start to have a struggle point at which we don't want to do it anymore. People will say, tell me what to eat, Heather, I'll do it. No, you won't. I mean, you'll do it for a short period of time, but even if I tell you what to eat, you're going to rebel against that. You've got to become the expert of you. You've got to start to create a system that works for you based on where you are right now. Diets have no idea what your day in and day out situation is. They don't know how many kids you have, your work responsibility, what you got going on a side hustle. They have no clue. They can't help you build structure into your life because they don't know your life. You know your life. You live your life. You've got to build your healthy eating, fitness, whatever habits around what you already have in existence. And I coach people. So the great thing that I have is I have a totally different perspective. I can look at someone's life and see where there is things that could be changed and can't be changed, and we can build those in. And that's what I really worked on in my coaching cast that I released called Stop Dieting and Start Losing, is teaching you how to start to look at your life differently so you can build these in. So statistically speaking, diets are not successful. They are not pleasant, right? It takes a Herculean effort for most people. They feel like, hey, I've got to clear out my pantry, reload my refrigerator, my pantry with foods I don't normally eat. I'm supposed to be working out every single day. I'm not currently working out. I now can't eat any of my favorite foods or go to my favorite restaurants, and I don't particularly love that. A lot of the time when people realize diets don't work, it's when they start to notice they're saying no to a lot of social engagements because they don't think they can eat and stick to their plan while they're going out with their friends and family. So that's usually a good red flag that your diet is not working. If you're saying no to social stuff that you want to say yes to, there will be a breaking point. As sure as I'm standing here, there will be a breaking point at which you say, I'm tired of doing this because I can't go do fun things with my friends and my family. They are not effective at teaching you how to structure your life. So diets are not going to come in and say, hey, let's add a vegetable into lunch for this next week or two until you get that well established, and then we'll add in another habit. Diets don't do that. Diets expect you to change everything overnight and adhere to the plan, and that's why they promise the results they do. But the reality is most people can't change that much that quickly and actually have it be permanent. We can have it be very superficial and artificial, but it's not going to be something that sticks with you for the long term. They tell you what to eat, how to eat, when to eat, and how and when to work out. As soon as someone starts telling you what to do or says this is what you need to do to be successful, there is inevitably going to be the breaking point at which you want to quit doing it because you can't adhere to it, or it's not something that you generated, so you feel as though it's being forced upon you, and you ultimately do not want to continue to do it. They don't take you and your unique life situation into consideration, and they are not prescribed around your current ability, time, or resources. Think about it. How can everyone buy the same diet book and expect to get the exact same results as what's being laid out as possible when we all have different socioeconomic backgrounds, educational backgrounds, ability backgrounds? We all are so different from one another, yet we all buy the same diet book and say, this is what is expected of me, I have to comply. What if you don't have the skill set or the background or the time to make those things happen? That's what you want to be thinking about, right? So these are all just some reasons why diets are not successful. Now, we're going to talk about what is that yo-yo cycle. Like, why is it that I keep doing this, Heather? I keep finding I usually get really excited in January. I'm really super strong. Now we're kind of we finished up March, we're going into April. And this is the time when a lot of people that maybe got gym memberships stopped going to the gym. People who were originally excited, they joined Weight Watchers, they're now starting to fade out of the meeting rooms. This is where the as they say, was it the ultimately the wheat or the you pull the wheat from the shaft, I think is where that separation occurs. And so what we want to be thinking about is, but why does this happen? And then inevitably I stop going. I end up not doing the habits. I end up gaining some of the weight back. At best, I stay the same weight, but typically gain some weight back. And then I find myself back in this whole cycle again, maybe in June or July, or maybe I wait till the next January, and it just keeps repeating, right? And I was one of those people. I would start strong. I'd last a couple months. I'd peter out. I'd end up gaining a bunch of weight back because I was binge eating. And then ultimately, I found myself right back again in the cycle over and over. My big weight gain mostly came from falling off diets and binging. That was where my big chunk of weight came from. It was that constant binge cycle I found myself in post-diet. So what does the yo-yo diet cycle look like? One, there's a trigger of some kind. We all have some kind of a trigger that leads us to pursuing dieting. It could be looking at pictures of us from the past or the present. Pictures are a big one, by the way, for craving to go on a diet. Trying on clothes that are either too small or too big, seeing family and friends that you haven't seen in a while and being concerned about what they're going to think about the way you look, attending special occasions like weddings, reunions, or parties. Experiencing motivation with seasonal change, like for example, January 1st, summer, and bathing suit season. So these are all just some examples of how do I know when to expect this to happen, Heather? When will I normally be tripped up to going into a yo-yo diet cycle? It's when it's an external trigger, something that happens that you see or that's outside of you that you're concerned about, and that would instigate those thoughts of gotta go on a diet, time for you to lose some weight, you gotta get ready, you gotta get some pictures taken, going on a reunion, going on a trip, and that desire and pull to do it, it's from that place. But the problem is, eventually the photo will happen. Eventually the trip will occur. Then what? And that's where a lot of us don't really see past the experience or past the thing that's bothering us. That's the part we have to look at, the past that part. By the way, again, if you have any questions for me tonight, please leave them right here in the Facebook feed. Lauren is pulling all questions for me, and she's going to put them right here in the Half Size Me community forum so I can see them. So if you have a question, don't hesitate to leave it, and I will get to it. All right, so the next part is once you've been triggered, then you start contemplating and researching. I was really good. This was even before Google was a thing. I was super good at researching diets. I would go to the library, I'd go to the bookstore, I'd purchase the books, check the books out. I would have like a diet party where I'm reading all the books and collecting all the information. So things that you want to watch out for: studying what diets are out there, researching online, asking friends and family what they're doing, reading lots of diet books or diet blogs, and contemplating what plan to follow. Now, here's way you know that this is not sustainable and it's not going to be the way that ultimately you're going to make long-term permanent change. You're going again outside of yourself. Do you see that? You're looking at what others are doing. You're searching out answers from other sources. You are already sitting on more information than you will ever need to get this party started. Your current habits support you being the current weight you are. How you eat for breakfast, how you eat for lunch, how you eat for dinner, how often you eat out, how many sugary beverages you drink, how much you move your body, how much quality sleep are you getting. All of these things, like, we want the outside to provide the answers, but truly the answers are already within you. You already are sitting on a treasure trove of information. And instead of investing another $29.95 in a diet book, get the $2 diet. And I share this in the Breaking the Diet Cycle book I released, which is a pencil from the dollar store and a notebook. And then what you're gonna do is start journaling what you currently do every day, because that in of itself is gonna give you the best roadmap for what to do, how to start to change the course of this. Are you eating any vegetables? Are you having any fruit? Do you eat lean protein at every meal? Like, what does your day currently already look like? From there, you can start to actually build a program that will support you. All right, the next thing, after you've been contemplating and researching, you do big action. This is the part we get excited about, big action. This is where we clear out the old to make room for the new. All that food I used to eat, it's gone. Now I'm bringing in chia seeds and flax seeds and almond this and coconut that. I wasn't eating any of this before, but poof, there it is, right? This is where you start to procure all those special dietary foods and things, supplements and all these powders and potions. And this is where all this happens. If you're on a meal replacement system, the center you go to gives you the meal replacement bars, the shakes, the food, and you just take it home and reheat and eat, right? You're clearing out the pantry, joining the gym, buying the food recommended by the diet, buying the recommended exercise videos, and buying any supplements that you are told you definitely need. This is that part where we feel excited, we're doing something, right? And then we go on to step 4 in the diet cycle, which is crushing it. This is the part where you are fully committed. You are excited for about 2 to 6 weeks. You do everything perfectly. You eat all the correct foods. You track every little morsel. You weigh everything. You really stay within your calorie or point targets. You do all the work and you feel like you are working really hard at this. But right now, it's okay because the scale is actually moving down at a decent clip. You're dropping a bunch of water weight. For that first 4 to 6 weeks, things are progressing very nicely. You feel really excited about this because you're seeing the scale changing and the results are happening. But then step 5 happens, and this is called hitting the wall. And this is where you will eventually hit a slight plateau, or you're just not losing weight like you were in the first 2 to 6 weeks. And then other obstacles start to encroach. This is where I was talking about starting to notice that you're not hanging out with your family and friends quite as much as you want to. You're saying no to a lot of social engagements. You were able to white knuckle it for that 2 to 6 weeks because you actually were getting results. But now that the results have let up, and you're still saying no to the things you really want to do, you're struggling with how to follow the plan and still maintain social situations. You miss your old life and you start to feel fatigue with the plan you have chosen. It's a slow and gradual transition, but you eventually stop your new eating plan, exercise, and healthy routine and slowly start to fall back into old patterns of behavior. Finally, you wake up and realize you just aren't motivated to do the work anymore. By the way, this one, step 5, is how you know what you were doing is not maintainable or sustainable. It's not something that you will probably be able to do long term. And here's the one question to say to yourself. Can I do what I'm doing even if the scale is not cooperating? Am I still loving and enjoying my life? And if the answer is no, if I'm like, oh my God, no, I'm hating every minute of this. I'm eating rice cakes and dry tofu every night for dinner because that's what my diet told me I had to eat. And it's a hellacious nightmare. Then you know when the scale stops cooperating and you finally hit that wall, you're going to start to peter out, right? So the question I get from a lot of people is, Heather, you talk about maintainable, you talk about sustainable. How will I know that? Well, when the results stop coming, can you still do the things you were doing before when you were getting the results and still feel good about everything? Do you still feel connected to family, friends, social situations? Or do all of a sudden you start to feel resentful, frustrated, and want to quit? And if you feel that way, then you know the approach was too extreme and it wasn't something that was really going to help you get to your final goal. All right, and step 6, I will quit and wait a few months and then repeat the process. This is the last step of the diet yo-yo cycle. You chalk up step 5 to your lack of willpower. Unfortunately, we never really give the full valid responsibility to where it goes, which is the diet was never going to work. It was never created for longevity. A diet is created to get quick results in the first few weeks, to get you enticed and to make you feel like you got your money's worth from the program. But the reality is they know the long term you won't stick with it. They know you will be a repeat buyer. They know if they release a book next year, you'll buy it, right? Because ultimately these are not meant to be sustainable, maintainable programs. These are meant to get you hooked, They're meant to get your attention, and they're meant to get you quick results to where you feel like it was never the diet, it was always you that messed up. And here's how I knew this, by the way. I would binge about that 4 to 6 week time frame. I was good at white knuckling it for a while, but then with the restrictiveness of the diet, I would binge. And I would go to the back of every diet book I bought to look for what to do when you binge. And guess what? There was never a section that discussed that. There was never a section that said, hey, when you hit that inevitable overeating moment, or you overindulge, or you eat too much, or you binge, here's what you need to do. Because the people who wrote the book were never planning on you getting past that point. They weren't worried about it. And that was a huge red flag for me. I thought, man, every single diet I've been on, every book I've purchased, I have followed it. I've done what they said, and I inevitably binge, and I feel like a failure. Yet they don't ever instruct me on what to do. Why is that? Why are they not telling you this? Because the reality is they probably never really thought you'd even make it to that point, and if you did, they figured that's where you peter out and that's where you stop. There's never a plan for longevity with these, and I just want to point that out, because for years I thought it was me. I thought I was the failure. I thought I was the screw up. I wasn't. I was doing things that weren't meant to be sustainable. I was doing things that were a quick fix. And that's why I had to change my approach. I stopped buying diet books. I stopped buying magazines. I stopped doing it all. And I started looking at myself, my habits, doing the repetitive, boring stuff to get the results. So just want to share that with you. So step 6, you chalk up your step 5 to a lack of willpower. You feel weak. You abandon all the healthy changes you made. And as comfort or self-punishment, you reward yourself with eating all the food that you have neglected in step 4. You stop exercising because you did not like it, and you were just doing it to lose weight. You now are doing everything you were doing before you were starting, but you may also be overeating and gaining weight. Remember, once you've dieted for a while, your metabolism will be suppressed, and then when you go back to even normal eating or eating a little above maintenance, your body is kind of primed to gain weight after that. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. Rather than reflecting on this pattern to learn why it didn't work for you, you just want to forget about it. You avoid talking with family and friends about it since you feel shame that, again, you didn't reach your goals. In a few months, you will be triggered again, going back to number 1, where we talked about the trigger, and you will repeat the cycle, but each time you add a few extra pounds, and the yo-yo diet cycle never, ever ends. So this is why we're talking, because I don't want to see you in this loop anymore. I've been there. I've been in your shoes. I've done this many, many times. It's not a fun place to be. It beats down your self-efficacy and your self-esteem when it comes to your abilities to do this for yourself. Now, the big question is why do I keep getting sucked in? And we've talked a little bit about this. There's definitely good marketing. They're trying to play to your weaknesses and promise you things that they think you want to hear. You're told it's going to be fast and easy. How many of us have been told that? This is a fast and easy approach, or just fast if nothing else, right? In this idea of fast fat loss or weight loss, I just want to talk about this for a second. So I had a client who, when she was 20, she went on her very first diet. She was 210 pounds. She did the diet yo-yo cycle for 29 years. So I met her when she was 49, and when she was 20 is when she started this. She came to me at 49. She was 226 pounds. So she was 16 pounds heavier than she was when she started at the age of 20. And she shared with me how she kept losing weight quickly, then gaining it back over the time period. So over this 29-year period, that's what she kept doing. She kept dropping the weight, gaining it back, plus a little bit extra. Now at 49, she has lost 21 pounds with me in about 5 months, and she's on track to losing the full amount of weight she wants to lose by her 50th birthday. In all, we talked about what if this whole process took you 2 years, right? And she kept saying it's a struggle for her mind to be on this philosophy of the slower weight loss approach versus the quote-unquote fast weight loss approach. But what I pointed out to her was this. If you are thinking about this very logically, right? If you spent 29 years doing something and it yet yielded a 16-pound weight gain, was that truly fast weight loss? Did you actually achieve the thing you wanted to achieve? Or did you, in theory, spend 29 years trying an approach that ultimately did not get you the results? That's what you did. So I told her, imagine spending 2 years investing in the slow weight loss approach and walking away at the weight you want to be, but also having the skills to maintain it. Which one was a better use of your time? 29 years, gain 16 pounds. 2 years, lose over 40 pounds. Which one's the better use of time? But the problem is with the 29 years of fast weight loss, it was just this, I'm going to believe the marketing. I'm going to believe this will be fast and easy. Cut to inevitably falling off, inevitably gaining weight back, feeling badly about yourself, and then ultimately also getting it stuck in your head that that's the way it should be. Unfortunately, we've believed this bill of goods, but it's not true. And if you really pay attention to research and science, there is more than enough proof to back up diets do not work. They just don't. You really aren't going to follow a diet and achieve the weight and really maintain it long term. The science is not there to back it, but what you can do, doesn't mean weight loss is not possible. What you can do is start to change your daily habits, your daily behaviors, because those are the things that when you think about how you eat, how you move, all those things, they're based in habits that you have taken on over time. If you change each one of those systematically, you will also change your body weight. It's going to happen. You bring in more fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, cut back on portions, start tracking. You do all these things over time, your weight will change. But it's not you following some prescribed diet plan that forces all the change all at once that inevitably leads you down that rabbit hole. Okay. So ultimately, we want to also talk about this a little bit about this idea of easy. So the first thing I want you to think about when you hear diets promise that this is going to be fast and easy is causing or involving little difficulty or discomfort, requiring, indicating the little effort, thought, or reflection. So when we hear the word easy, we should immediately think little effort, thought, or reflection. Do we really believe with something as massive as our eating behaviors and our fitness behaviors and how we view ourselves and all the things we do that it's really supposed to be easy? I mean, truly. I get we all look for shortcuts on things, but it's kind of like, anything worth having, anything that's worthy of is a great accomplishment. You must work at, you must put some level of effort in. So when someone says the word easy to me, what that tells me is they think I shouldn't have to think about this. I shouldn't have to put any real effort into it. When I know, in fact, that this is something I've been battling the majority of my life, that in of itself is false. That is not a true statement. So when someone throws easy at me or fast, I typically immediately have my spidey sense tingling and I think that doesn't seem right, It'd be like if someone said, hey, I have a quick way for you to pay off all your debt. If you listen to Dave Ramsey, and you may or may not like Dave Ramsey, but ultimately Dave Ramsey has helped me get to a place where I just have my house payment now. Got rid of $180,000 worth of credit card debt, got rid of, of student loan debt, got rid of all my credit cards, car loan debt, and it took me 10 years. And it was not easy, but it was worth it. And so here's the deal. Things that are worth it are worth the effort, and they're not going to be easy, but they're going to be worth it. And that's one of the things you want to remember. When it comes to easy, what they're telling you is if you really quickly change all this stuff, you will lose weight. I agree with them. You will. What I'm making the argument about here is that those are artificial changes. Those are changes that you kind of threw into your life haphazardly, really not with any intention or kind of looking at what it is you're currently doing and blending it into your lifestyle. You just said, oh, the diet says to do this, thus I'm going to do it. You don't even think about it. Even with Weight Watchers, I've told people don't follow their program. Go in there, get the e-tools, track what you're currently eating without following anything. Don't attempt to hit any point target whatsoever. Learn where you are right now. If you know where you are right now, you can actually make a plan to improve and systematically change each thing that you're doing that's not helping you. But if you go in and you say, oh, they said I'm supposed to eat 26 points. I will eat 26 points. It's going to take a Herculean effort for you to hit 26 points because you're probably not even remotely close to 26 points. So the point I'm trying to make here is anything you do, It needs to come from the premise of what am I doing now? And what are the habits I can change? And I'm going to not look for easy, and I'm not going to look for fast, because if I know that I could spend 29 years and get 16 pounds heavier versus taking 2 years and really losing the weight, then this fast concept really isn't going to get me where I want to be. Changing your thought process around all that. So how do we stay out of the diet yo-yo cycle? How do we stop dieting, stop following a diet, a prescribed diet plan, and start losing? First, you need a reason why, like a big why. And when I say, or it's lots of little whys, but you need to know why you're doing this. Remember in the diet yo-yo cycle, we talked about the trigger. Did you notice at no point it was because you felt a deep connection to a powerful reason why you wanted to do it? It was, I saw a picture and I didn't like what I saw. Okay. But why do you want to put this level of work and effort into losing weight? Maybe it's because you're on medication and you want to get off medication. Maybe you have been told that you have pre-diabetes and you don't want to go with full-blown diabetes. Maybe you ultimately want to have more freedom in your body to come and go. You don't want to have to sit in a booth somewhere and hope you're going to fit. You want the freedom to make a decision without having to consider your body size. That's a deep, profound why. But just being triggered by something external from you or an upcoming event is not a deep reason why. So you need to have that. You need to redefine success. Often if I ask somebody, what would you say is successful when it comes to weight loss? It's how much the person lost or how fast they lost it. Those are not good markers of success with weight loss. I'm just going to be honest with you. Those used to be my markers of success long back in the day, but they are not anymore. Now my marker for success is how much did that person lose? And what percentage of the weight is that person getting to keep off? So if they lost 100 pounds and they're keeping off 80 pounds of it, they regained 20, that they've kept off 80% of what they lost. And how long have they kept it off? Have they kept it off for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? The longer they keep it off, the more unique they become, the more rare that situation is. And those are people that I see as being successful. The more, the larger of percentage weight that they've been able to keep off for the longer period of time is really the marker of success. But that's a totally different, it's the anti-cultural approach to thinking about weight loss. What do they put in the ads? So-and-so lost this week much weight in 21 weeks. Well, that's great. Where are they 21 years later? Where are they 2 months later? Where are they 2 years later? Like, where are they long term? Are they loving their life? Are they still following the program? What are they doing to keep that weight off? Because the keeping the weight off part, that to me is the marker of success. So changing your definition of success is what I would be focusing on. Make your own rules and stop following what others are saying. So stop looking outside of yourself for answers. Start looking at yourself for answers. What is it you're currently doing with your eating, your fitness, for everything? And what can you start to change to move yourself forward? Know what things are your personal triggers. You can't get sucked into the diet yo-yo cycle if you're savvy to know what your triggers are and you avoid them, or at least you're aware, hey, you know what, I'm seeing a photo of myself and I'm feeling super triggered right now. I know that jumping into a diet right the second will not be helpful. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start to write out lists of behaviors I know I have that I could start to modify and change to make myself in a better place. Decide permanent weight loss is the marker of success, not how fast or how much somebody loses, how long they get to keep it off. Use intention with the decisions you make. You're going to be having to do this every day for the rest of your life. So every decision you make, whether it's having cake at a wedding or whether you're going to start running 3 miles a day, ask yourself, is this something I really want to do? And is this something that I would be willing to do, say, after I've been maintaining my weight for a while? Like, am I always going to say no to cake? Or am I always going to be out running 3 miles? Or is this just something I'm trying to do temporarily to get my weight to cooperate with me or get it to go in the direction I want? Ask about each decision you're making if it's something that's maintainable or sustainable for you for the long haul. Stop looking to diets for the answers. Really start to focus inward on yourself. And avoid the terms easy and fast. when you see those terms easy and fast pop up, kind of start to run in the opposite direction, because you know there is nothing fast and there is nothing easy. Those are just trick sales tactics to get you to buy into things that really are not there to sustain you for the long haul. All right, so that is going to wrap up our discussion on stop dieting and start losing. If you need help with this, if you have constantly found yourself in the cycle, you're losing the same 20 pounds, gaining it back, you're not making any real traction, I would encourage you, and Lauren, if you can throw this up there, that would be great. The coaching cast, Stop Dieting, Start Losing. Coaching cast is where I come on with you. I send you an automated voice message every day where I'm coaching you through these concepts. I'm giving you action steps to take. It's kind of like coaching in a box, if you will, on specific issues. So you will be getting an audio message from me every day. You'll be getting assignments from me every day to help you get out of this rut of falling victim to diets and really starting to look at the habits you currently have and how you can start to improve them and get yourself moving in a positive direction. So I am going to take questions that Lauren has been pulling off Facebook. So if you have some questions, you can definitely share them. Roma says, what are your thoughts on tracking and counting macros? So ultimately, I've actually had this conversation a couple times this week with some of my coaching clients. What I tell everybody is this: if you are getting the results you want without tracking macros, then I wouldn't push it. So if you're somebody who's either looking at losing weight or you're looking at maintaining weight, ultimately, if just tracking your calories, calorie counting, is working for you, then I wouldn't add much more layers of complication to that if I don't have to. But if you are finding, okay, I'm eating at a reasonable calorie amount for my body, I should either be losing or I should be maintaining, but I'm not. One area that I have seen be successful is working with some macronutrient ratios to help people get unstuck. I had a client who was in her 40s. She was eating a reasonable amount of calories for her activity and lifestyle. She was, I think it was like 1,600 at the time, and she wasn't losing. She just wasn't losing on that calorie amount. But what we did is I talked to her for many, many times about increasing protein and decreasing some of the processed carbs she was eating, and she was very resistant to doing it for months and months and months. And finally, she decided she was willing to try. So she started to increase her protein, she decreased her processed carbs, and she ended up losing weight on the same calorie allotment. So for somebody who is at that place where you are eating a reasonable amount of calories, but you're not seeing the scale budge, before looking to drop calories, I would play around with your macronutrients and see if that might help. The other thing that macronutrients are really good for is for somebody who is, say, strength training or trying to build muscle, making sure you're getting adequate amounts of protein in. But just in general talk, if we're talking about just somebody who's trying to, again, maintain weight, calories is going to be the number one thing. If you look at the hierarchy of importance, calories are going to be the most important. Macronutrients are like the second tier up, but it's going to be dependent on each individual. Okay. Next question comes from Mary. She wants to know how to deal with grief eating. Okay, so grief eating, first off, I just want to tell Mary, I'm really, really sorry that you're having a personal experience that would bring on grief eating. And ultimately, what I would encourage you to be thinking about is, one, giving yourself time to grieve, like actually knowing that that's going to be a process. My husband lost his father, I want to say it was back in 2015, and he would just randomly wake up sad, really sad, just with grief. Depending on who you lost and how close you were, you'll go through probably that initial shock and awe, situation. You're processing everything, and then 6 months later, you could wake up crying and really going through a huge grief just moment, and nothing seemed to even trigger it. It just happened, right? So grief is going to come and go. What we want to keep in mind with grief, and I really like this, and Lauren, if you could do me a favor, in the forums, there is a podcast under we have a grief support group in the forums for the Half Size Me community. I shared a podcast called Fathers Never Die, and it's by Byron Katie. If you get a chance to check her out, Byron Katie is wonderful. She really works on helping you see things from a totally different perspective. But I shared this because a lot of times when we are dealing with grief, we are eating because we are trying to deal with something we've lost, right? It's having something taken away from us. It's the pain of that entire experience. One of the things that has really helped me with losing people I love and watching people die prematurely is turning that around into what did I actually get. So, for example, I can grieve the loss of a little boy that we were friends with that died at 13 months of age, right? Like we were close to his family. My husband went to the funeral. I mean, it was a big deal. And I really just hit me hard because my son was the same age, and I remember being struck by grief, and I thought to myself, I can either grieve for what was taken from all of us, or I can be thankful that we got the 13 months with him, right? I can grieve that my husband's father is dead, or I can be thankful for the 72 years we got with him. It's a change in perspective. And when I stopped looking at it from what I was losing to what I had received from being with that person and in their experience, it helped me a lot. And I would reflect on photos and all the gifts that they gave me, listing out all the wonderful things that them being in my life brought to my existence. And when I started to see this long list of gifts I got, when I started to see all these wonderful things that happened to me because this person was in my life, it gave me a sense of gratitude that helped me stop feeling so sad and feeling like I had lost something. So it was refocusing my attentions, seeing what I got, seeing the gifts I received, and not what I lost. That's number one. And number two, I would make a deal with myself that I could get prepackaged snacks to eat if I was feeling that way, but I first had to journal for 5 minutes. A lot of times we have all these feelings pent up, and we're eating to deal with it. So I always say your mouth is either an export or an import. You're either going to share what you think and feel, you're going to get it out in the world, you're going to tell the person, hey, what you did hurt me or bothered me, or I'm feeling this way. You're either going to share and get it out, or you're going to shove it down with food and eat. That's your kind of two options. And so what I realized was a lot of the things that I was struggling with around grief in particular was trying to resist the urge to talk about it because for fear of hurting others or putting it out there and making others have to think about something that might be sad, or just not wanting to share because I didn't want to even have to verbalize it. You know, sometimes we don't want to be sharing it. We just kind of want it to go away. And what I realized was that wasn't helping me. So I gave myself permission to eat what I wanted. But I first had to journal for 5 minutes and get my thoughts out. If I wasn't going to share it with another person, I at least had to share it in my journal. And that really helped a lot. Just having a place that was safe to put it out there, making sure that I had pre-packaged individual snacks for those occasions. Just having a big box of cookies or having a big bag of chips is not going to be a good idea. But if you have individual package of cookies, an individual bag of chips, those like small ones that you get at a gas station, you at least have those foods on hand. You could have a controlled portion, but first getting yourself conditioned to journal before you have them. So that was the question on grief. I don't see any other questions. Let me refresh my screen here. And if you have a question and you want to submit it, I have just a few more minutes. I can take another question. All right. All right, and while we're waiting for questions, just want to make sure that you guys remember, avoid the diet cycle, right? Start to look at your habits and your behaviors. Start to refocus yourself. And if you right now could use the added support, again, the Half Size Me community is open for 24 hours. We'll be closing tomorrow morning, I think at 10 a.m. So if you want to join us, you can always go to halfsizeme.com/join. And in there, we actually have the Breaking Diet Cycle course, which is all about how to put in healthy habits, healthy behaviors, and start to remove ones that are not helpful. But if the community is not your flavor, again, I have the coaching cast, Stop Dieting and Start Losing, which once you purchase that, you'll start to get your automatic coaching sessions sent right to your inbox, and then you'll get lessons from me on what we're working on. All right. All right, so I'm assuming, Lauren, I don't know if there's any more questions. All right, right, so Mary says, do you ever work with husbands and wives looking to get healthy together? All right, so Mary, the way that I would typically work with people or help people is a couple ways. So I have products that are for sale that if you purchase them, you of course and your husband can use them and work through them together, right? So that's kind of like one way I can help you. The other way I can help you is in the community. And so if you guys are community members, you guys can be taking courses together. You can be doing showing up at live webinars. I do live webinars like this twice a month where you can ask questions and stuff like that. If you were looking for individual coaching, I do offer individual coaching. I will say I typically do get full pretty quickly, and I usually have a waiting list. But what I see normally happen, I've not done husband and wife on the phone together, but what typically does happen is I either coach a wife or I coach a husband. I do male and female, for as far as coaching clients are concerned. And whatever I work with with the one, typically it bleeds over into the family and it actually helps. So when I coach with people, I'm looking at their life in its totality, not just what they ate today. Did they check off all their boxes? Like, I'm typically looking at how is their job, is their job fulfilling and making them happy, or are they eating because they hate what they do for a living? If there's a problem with a spouse situation or the spouse and them are having a hard time dealing with it, what can we do to fix that, right? So it's a holistic approach to weight loss and health via my personal coaching, because what I believe is that nothing happens in a vacuum. That if someone's got an eating issue or they're not losing weight or they're whatever, it's usually a part of something bigger. And what we're doing together is peeling back the layers of your onion, so to speak, to figure out what's going on and trying to get to the root cause. So that way, ultimately, we can help restructure your life in a way that's going to be supportive. And I've never seen the coaching I do with one-on-one clients not have a ripple out effect to children, to spouses, to other familial relationships, to work relationships. It usually really wires out and it goes in all different directions. So the direct answer is I don't typically, like I said, work with two people on the phone at the same time. But if I worked with one or the other, it will impact both of you, okay? I've actually had husbands, their wives start to feel better, they get happier. I've had husbands be like, no, you're going to keep coaching because you've gotten in such a better place. So it's funny how sometimes a partner can really see the transformation in how you're thinking and how you're acting and really be excited about you coaching too. I've been really excited to see that as far as a positive with husband and wife teams, The next question comes from Chris. I'm going on an all-inclusive European river cruise in a few weeks. Any advice? So Chris, typically what I would suggest for somebody who's going on a cruise, and ultimately it sounds like food's going to be the main concern, is I would suggest going in with a realistic expectation. So for example, if you're typically somebody who gains weight while on vacation, maybe assume that you're going to gain a few pounds or at best maintain. But obviously you wouldn't want to assume you're going to lose. So the expectation piece is huge. Make sure you're honest with yourself about what you expect. Then what I would suggest you do, Chris, is start to look at what are your normal vacation habits. What does it typically look like when you go on vacation? Do you still stay physically active? Do you find that you don't move at all? Do you find you eat all the food because you're quote unquote on vacation? Do you eat lots of snacks you wouldn't normally eat, lots of desserts, lots of alcohol? What is it you normally do? And then what I always have my clients do is pick one area of improvement, okay? So if you're somebody who pretty much drinks from the time, say, 2 o'clock rolls around till the time you go to bed, maybe looking at pushing back the start time on when you start to drink. Or if you're somebody who eats all the food that's presented to them, you might start to say, okay, what would I be willing to not eat and or substitute with a better option? And then if you're somebody who's already pretty good, meaning that you've got some pretty good travel habits already established, and let's just say you want to maintain your weight, what I tell people is do 2 strategic meals and do 1 fun meal per day. And 1 fun meal is you order what you want, but you stop when you feel content. You don't continue to eat till you're gorged. And then, the other 2 meals are really strategic. They're the way that you would eat if you were at home. So if for dinner at home, you would have some grilled chicken, sweet potato and broccoli, then you would try to shoot for that for one meal and maybe another meal similarly, and then you'd have one indulgent meal where you actually order something, or maybe that's the meal where you have a little bit of alcohol, or you have the fries with your burger, so on and so forth. So that way there's a balance of responsibility and fun while you're traveling. But I don't encourage people to do anything hardcore when they're on vacation, especially if it's for pleasure, because ultimately you want to enjoy the experience, but you want to be making small points of improvement, so that way the next time you go on a trip, you can say, hey, last time I did this, I improved on my alcohol consumption, I improved on my snack consumption. This time I want to do 1 point better, and I'm going to change this next habit or behavior. Holiday and vacation habits are slower to change because we don't go on vacations every single week. So there may be a couple times a year, maybe every other month if you're really lucky. And what that means is that the transformation on holiday and travel, it could take years to completely to reconstruct them to where they feel kind of your new normal, you know. So just give yourself time, say what's one thing I'm willing to improve on, and if I know that I want to try and maintain, can I have 2 strategic meals and 1 fun meal on this trip, and what does that look like for you? All right, I hope all of that helped. I think I got all the questions. All right, Lauren, I think we're gonna wrap for tonight, so unless there was another question that I missed, I don't think so. I think we're good, right? We're all good? All right, so we're going to wrap for tonight. Again, if you need any help, go to halfsizeme.com. In there, you can get access to the coaching casts and courses that I mentioned. You can get on the community, join the community, halfsizeme.com/join. And there should be a link right there. There's the podcast. Remember, we mentioned that at the beginning, free podcast comes out every Monday. Thank you very much. And the fat loss crash course, 5 lessons. Just become a VIP member for free, halfsizeme.com/VIP, and then you can go ahead and get the 5-lesson permanent fat loss crash course. You guys have a great night. I will be back with you next month. I can't wait. And if you have any questions, never hesitate to email me. I would love to hear from you guys. Have a good one and take care.